evening. Welcome to the City of Opa-locka regular commission meeting. We rescheduled this meeting in honor of Thanksgiving, and we wanted to make sure that we come together to do the business of the people. This will be our last meeting before Thanksgiving, so I want to give thanks to all those in honor of Thanksgiving. With that, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
I'm here.
Commissioner Burke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Here.
Mayor Pygott.
I'm here. Commissioner Bass, could you lead us in invocation?
Father, we thank you for this moment. We thank you, Lord God, for the gift of life. We thank you, Lord God, for every resident. We thank you, Lord God, for every business owner. We thank you, Lord God, for your people. We thank you, Lord God, for the opportunity to serve, Lord God. We just bless you today, Lord God. We give you honor, we give you glory, and we praise your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do we have any awards, proclamations, or acknowledgements?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to approval of the consent agenda and the poll list. Do I have any pulls, deletions, or deferrals?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
I would like to pull (13)(2).
All right. Any other pulls? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we do have an add-on item which was sent electronically. I have someone from the park staff making copies upstairs. I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and consider that item at this time.
All right, so we have an add-on item. Would you read it into the record?
Yes, just a moment.
Is your mic on? Is she-
Yes, just a moment.
I have it, Joanne, if you want me to read it.
This item would be added as 14-1, an emergency ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Chapter 13 of the City of Opa-locka's Code of Ordinances entitled License and Business Regulations. Article 14 entitled Landlord Permit, specifically amending Section 13-2743 to require that all apartment buildings with 150 units or more to be required to have on-site armed off-duty police officer security. Amending Section 13-278 subsection 5B to require permit applicants with 150 or more apartment units to complete a separate form to be created by city containing an acknowledgement that a daily log will be kept containing the name of the on-site armed off-duty police officer before a permit shall issue, providing for adoption of representations, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, with this being an emergency item add-on, as an ordinance on second reading, Mr. Manager, could you state the emergency, criteria for this to be considered as an add-on?
Mr. Pate is getting.
I can speak on that, Mr. Mayor. As you are aware, we've had a rampant amount of violent crime that has occurred in our apartment complexes. As early as last night, we had an 8-year-old child shot and a 4-year-old male shot at Gloria Gardens Apartments. This matter was supposed to be on today's agenda. It was a mislook on my part in regards to it being added. Based on the circumstances of yesterday, I felt this emergent circumstance. I consulted with the city attorney. I do have the authority to add an emergency ordinance without publication. This has been publicized one time already. And based on the circumstances, I think this is something the city commission needs to pass today, because Gloria Gardens is giving the city resistance as far as adding armed security at their site.
All right. Madam Attorney, all right, I'm pulling up the emergency ordinance. Madam Attorney, we can approve an add-on ordinance at this time.
We can, and it's already been read into the record prior. This will be the second reading. It was a clerical oversight, so it should be fun.
Okay. All right. With that, do I have a motion to add this item onto the agenda? And first, I want to recognize that Commissioner Kelly has come to the dais. All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to add this ordinance?
Add it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Burke. All right. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move it.
I have
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Commissioner Burke. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Do I have a motion to approve the virtual regular commission meeting minutes for October 28th, 2020?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk, roll call. Second by Vice Mayor Davis, apologize.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we have a report from District 1 or 2.
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Moving on to public presentations, we have the Florida Department of Transportation. It's Paola Bays and Ivan Jimenez. Are they here? All right.
They're being added right now to the Zoom meeting.
Good evening. I'm sorry, we weren't as panelists before. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen to share the presentation. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Again, good evening. My name is Paola Baez, and I thank you for giving us this opportunity to tell you a little bit about rail safety. I'm a consultant for FDOT District 6. In an effort to prevent fatalities and accidents at railroad crossings, last December, State Secretary Thibault launched a rail safety initiative called Operation Stride to implement the use of dynamic envelope as a safety measure. Today, I will tell you a little bit about what are the dynamic envelopes, what are the current rail operations in the county, and the plans for expansion. I will also tell you a little bit about the design of the dynamic envelopes, our efforts for implementation, and some of the tips for safety behavior around railroad tracks. The success of Operation Stride and the impacts to safety that this program may bring is extremely important to the
Excuse me,
department.
Jay.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
hello?
Jay. Yes, currently we see a Zoom screen. If you have a presentation up, the public and the commission cannot see it at the time. We see.
Oh, I am so sorry. Let me fix that. Can you guys see the presentation now?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Okay, I apologize. I apologize for that. So like I said before, the success of Operation Stride and the impacts to safety that this program may bring is extremely important to the department because one fatality is one too many. With the introduction of Brightline to our transportation system, we have observed a big increase in passenger train frequency. The rail corridor where Brightline today runs had maybe one train a month when I started working in rail about 16 years ago. Nowadays, the same corridor has almost 50 trains a day, not only servicing passengers, but freight train frequency have also increased after the rail intermodal center was completed in Port Miami. It takes a train miles to stop after it hits the brake, and the train is such a big vehicle that we feel that it's really coming slower than it really is. So it's up to us to stay out of its way. So our approach to implementation include the three E's: engineering, enforcement, and education. But what are the dynamic envelopes and why is it that you need to know about it? The dynamic envelope visually highlights that danger zone where you have the potential of being struck by a train or the train's overhand, or even be affected by the lateral movements of the train's cargo. We should always stop at the stop bar even when the gates are up. But if we're stuck in queues because of heavy traffic, we need to stay at least out of this danger zone. So I'll give you a little bit of background on our efforts. As I mentioned, on December of 2019, the Secretary introduced the beginning of Operation Stride. And on the same month, the department released Memorandum 1902, requiring the implementation of the dynamic envelopes on all facilities owned by the state. As soon as February of 2020, all of the department standards have already been updated. Our implementation efforts are to be completed by March of 2022. On September of 2020, we launched the education campaign during Train Safety Week. So like I mentioned before, one of our E's is education. In South Florida, we have a lot of special challenges like heavy traffic and a big amount of tourists who are not familiar with the transportation system, especially in downtown and other urban areas. For this and for many reasons, education and outreach is key, and your help for this effort is invaluable. So the answer to who needs to know what the dynamic envelopes are is everyone. No matter if you're in a vehicle, if you are a pedestrian, or on a bicycle, or you are a person with special needs, we all need to be aware about the dangers around the railroad property. The people in the transportation environment may be familiar with this effort, but how do we deliver the message to the average Joe? How does the everyday driver that sees these payment markings next to the railroad tracks know what they mean? Our reach strategy includes presentations to different forums like school, municipalities, different committees, and really anyone that will listen to our message. We're also using social media advertisement in transit system like this one in Freebie, ad material like flyers, posters, etc. And all of this information is available for us to share and distribute. If you want to include it in your website or place it in a building lobby, we're happy to share this with you. We have also created a video that will be playing on gas station TV. So if you know, again, of any forum that could benefit, we'll be happy to be there and prepare a presentation that fits the audience that we're presenting to. So what is happening in Miami-Dade County's rail system? A major metropolitan area like Miami-Dade needs to rely on different modes of transportation to effectively move people and goods. And trains are vehicles that can efficiently provide freight and passenger services. In our county, we have Metro Rail, Tri-Rail, Bryland, and Amtrak that provide passenger services, and CSX and FEC that provide freight services. And this slide puts into perspective the difference between freight and passenger rail. And in your municipality, you have both. Most of these services share the same rail corridors. So while you're in traffic, you could encounter a very long and slow freight train with very low frequencies, fortunately, but traveling from 10 to 25 miles per hour, or a very frequent and short passenger train traveling from 60 to 79 miles per hour. Passenger rail is experiencing even more expansion. There are plans to start the Tri-Rail Downtown Miami Link service, which will connect the existing Tri-Rail service to downtown Miami. And another upcoming service is the Tri-Rail Coastal Link, which is a strategic investment for a region and will provide mobility as it will connect Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and including a brand new station in Aventura. So I mentioned that another one of our is engineering. How do we decide that the dynamic envelopes could be an effective safety measure? Basically, the dynamic envelopes are these new pavement markings, these X's that delineate and highlight that danger zone. And the engineering is done, and we can share the design approved by the Federal Railroad Administration that has become part of our standards. FDOT conducted 2 pilot projects which showed a lot of promise and provided from 15 to 45% reduction in vehicles stopped within the dynamic envelope, and more than 50% reductions in vehicles stopped within the gates during activation. And let me touch a little bit on the last E, which is enforcement. FDOT has been a partner in Operation Lifesaver for many years. Operation Lifesaver is a nonprofit organization, a nationally recognized leader in rail safety. Since 1972, with the support of public education programs in the states across the US, Operation Lifesaver remains committed to preventing collisions, injuries, and fatalities around the railroad property. Through this program, we team up with municipal and state police forces to enforce the respect of railroad signage. Part of the design of the dynamic envelope includes this MUTCD sign that reads "Do not stop on tracks." This sign is enforceable by law, and you can actually get a moving ticket violation if you do not respect it. But the sign must be on site in order to be enforced. As you can see, there are also other supplementary railroad signs that can be placed on the side street, especially when visibility is hard and the railroad is right when the vehicle turns. And this is our new design standard. The design on the left is for a single track, and the one on the right is where there are multiple adjacent tracks. Aside from the advanced pavement markings and signage, we're used to seeing those big X's with the R's that we used to see. Now we're adding the smaller X's right next to the tracks. These are the X's that highlight that danger zone. And we're also adding the "Do not stop on track" signage that is enforceable in all quadrants, as soon as you enter and as soon as you exit the railroad crossing. So what has been our implementation plan, and where are we placing these pavement markings and signage? In the interest of safety, the department is working aggressively on the implementation of these dynamic envelopes for all state-owned facilities. We have begun the implementation on 89 rail crossings in suburban and urban areas of Miami-Dade County. 57% of these crossings are on state roads, and 43% are on off-system roadways along the South Florida Rail Corridor, which is owned by the state. Excuse me. Our implementation strategy has been to work as a team to make this a successful task. This project demands high level of effort and a strong coordination, not only internally within the department, but also working with municipalities like yours, Miami-Dade County, the railroad, and other stakeholders. Our Traffic Operations Office is also working on a pre and post study to help us quantify the effects and benefits of this new safety measure. We have already completed the designs for all 89 crossings, and we're currently working on the construction efforts. We began construction in September of 2020 and have completed about 65% of our crossings. Now, to talk to you about a little bit about the successful completions we had so far. The first that I'm showing you is Kern Avenue, located down south in Miami-Dade County, just north of Southwest 232nd Street. This crossing has a pedestrian and a bicycle path. The next crossing I'll show you today is Biscayne Boulevard. This crossing is a designated quiet zone, so it is extremely important to be attentive and aware of our surroundings when we are close to a railroad crossing, but even more important when that crossing is a designated quiet zone. At this crossing, the train will not blow the horn, so to be aware of its approach depends only on hearing the engine and seeing the train signal equipment being activated. We should also be aware that this crossing is next to the arena and has a lot of pedestrian and vehicle traffic in case of events, especially with queues caused by heavy traffic. It is very easy to get stuck in that danger zone. The next crossing is Port Boulevard, which is also a quiet zone, and it is between Bayside and the arena, presenting the same design difficulties as Biscayne Boulevard. Its geometry is especially challenging since the crossing is diagonal. The stop bars are very far behind on each side, and it may be very easy for vehicles to get closer to that dynamic envelope, especially when trying to exit the parking garage from the arena. The department has made every effort for fast implementation of these dynamic envelopes. We have added the dynamic envelopes to existing roadway construction projects, railroad reconstruction projects, and even led fast response projects for the sole purpose to implement this safety measure. At Northwest 13th Avenue in the downtown lead, we have added the implementation of the dynamic envelope to a railroad reconstruction, surface railroad reconstruction project built in partnership with SFRTA. Another crossing completed on the downtown lead is Northwest 23rd Street, right east of Northwest 27th Avenue. The geometry of this crossing is as tough as it gets, and almost impossible for a vehicle to avoid this danger zone while waiting for the traffic signal to change. Having the dynamic envelope on crossing in areas like this is especially important. These locations are very dark at night. Some of them do not even have flashers, only crosswalks, and they are easy to miss when it's dark. Fortunately, trains in these areas are very slow and seldom. These crossings are all located in commercial areas where it's mostly warehouses, only 1 to 3 trains per week. Like I said, very seldom pass by this corridor. And since they're mostly at night, people don't expect to see the train. A lot of times they think that the gates are malfunctioning when they see the flashers on. State Road 817, Northwest 27th Avenue, south of Alibaba, within the limits of your municipality, has over 50 trains a day, servicing both freight and passenger train. Currently, Tri-Rail and Amtrak for passenger services and CSX for freight services. But once the Tri-Rail downtown Miami link start services, their trains may use this corridor as well. So this crossing may increase frequency. This crossing is in an area that is mostly commercial, but close to residential buildings on the side streets, with about 40,000 vehicles going through this crossing a day. Another important effort to highlight is that the department, through the Signal Safety Program, works really hard on the implementation of railroad signal equipment for all railroad crossings, on system and off system. The last crossing I will show you today is Condat Street, located southeast of Alibaba, within the limits of municipality as well. Daily vehicular traffic in this crossing is about 1,900 vehicles per day, and train traffic is also over 50 trains. Other crossings within your municipality where we have installed already the dynamic envelope are State Road 916, Northwest 135th Street, just south of the Douglas Lejeune connector, Dunat Avenue, Opa-locka, and 22nd Avenue. Opa-locka Boulevard. So like I said before, let's not forget that all modes of transportation need to be safe around the rail property. The safety of pedestrians, bicycle, and people in wheelchair around rail crossings also depends on all of us. Be attentive. Never had headphones so that you can hear the signs of the train approaching. Look in both directions. The train can come from both ways. For cyclists and wheelchair, cross the tracks at a 90-degree angle if possible to avoid getting stuck on those railroad tracks. And if you're in a bicycle, please dismount. Exercise caution. The sidewalk conditions are not always the best around the railroad tracks. There's always a gap on the tracks themselves as well. Many times we encounter a difference in elevations or tripping hazards. Be attentive. Only you can control your behavior at the railroad crossings or the railroad property. Your safety depends on you. So how can you help? We're gonna do a call for action today. Overall, do not stop on tracks. The signs you see are enforceable. You could get a ticket, especially for crossings close to traffic signals. It's very easy to get stuck in that danger zone. Please proceed with caution when approaching the rail. As soon as you see the advanced pavement markings, which are those big R's on the pavement, you are as close as 100 feet to a rail crossing. And most important of all, please help us, partner with us to spread the word of this message of safety. And if you guys have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer. And this is my contact information as well, if you wanna send me something different. And like I said before, we're very happy to share all the advertisement equipment that we have to try to disseminate the message in different forums as much as we can.
Thank you for the presentation. The floor is open for any questions or comments.
Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. I may have heard it, maybe I didn't. What is the time frame on what is being proposed?
So the completion of all construction, the implementation of all construction is to be completed by March of 2022. But we're going really fast and we feel that it's going to be way early than that. Actually, all the crossings within your jurisdiction have already been completed.
Okay, and one of the challenges, Mr. Mayor, if I can, one of the challenges we've had in the past with railroad crossings, work done, improvements, is making sure that the community is notified in advance. So I'm assuming that is all part of your logistical layout.
Yes, yes, we did a coordination beforehand with the Public Works Department in your municipality, as well as coordinated with the county and getting approval, because these pavement markings in the future will be maintained by the county on off-system roadways.
Okay, I just want to say for the record, I know you in contact with the county, but sometimes in the past it's been lost of translation getting to the city, so we can let residents know. But thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you, Mr.
I
Mayor.
understand. It's been a pleasure.
Any other questions or comments? I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention and to the public. We do have a few railroad crossings in Opa-locka that need some attention. And I hear it say 2023. Is that the time frame to get to Opa-locka, or is there a time frame in which the railroad crossings in Opa-locka will be fixed?
So we have already implemented the dynamic envelopes on all the crossings in Opa-locka that are part of that are owned by the state. We represent the Department of Transportation, and we're only doing these improvements on state-owned facilities, which are the crossings on the South Florida River Corridor and the crossings on the state roads. So we have completed everything that we were going to do within your municipality.
You're saying you've already done the work in Opa-locka?
Yes, correct. The payment markings, which this effort is to include the excess, those extra payment markings that highlight that danger zone.
Okay. All right, I do want to bring to attention while I do have you here, there is a crossing right on Opa-locka and Alibaba, in which it is pretty rough getting through every time, and we would love to get some attention. We've sent a request up to get that paved and done, and I hope that with this process, that can be completed swiftly, because it's a bumpy ride over there, and we would love to ensure that
Correct.
it's smooth driving throughout the city of Opa-locka.
So you're talking about railroad crossing reconstruction. Um,
Yes.
so this effort does not include any railroad roadway reconstruction. We can exchange, maybe we can exchange some information, and the department can get back to you about. We have looked into the agreements of Opa-locka, because when we contacted your public works office, they mentioned that the crossing needed reconstruction. And when we look into the agreements, when that crossing was installed, we realized that this is the responsibility of the city of Opa-locka, the surface reconstruction. So with railroads, it's a little bit complicated. The signalization may be in charge of one party, the crossing reconstruction may be another party. In the case of Opa-locka Boulevard, the surface reconstruction is the responsibility of the city, and then the signalization maintenance will be the responsibility of the county, because this is an off-system roadway, it's not part of the state road system.
Thank you for that information. I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? All right. We appreciate your time, Ms. Paula, and please feel free to come back to the city of Opa-locka with any other updates that you have. Thank you.
Anytime. And if you guys want to get in contact with for the future reconstruction of that crossing, you can write to us, and we'll put you in contact with SFRTA, which will be the agency that will do the reconstruction and can arrange what is needed to do in order to perform that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There's no other discussion on the public presentation. All right, we will move on to Citizens Forum. This is a time in which we hear from our public. Due to this COVID nature, there's a new procedure in place. And Madam Clerk, could you go over the procedures for Citizens Forum and manage that process for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So due to COVID-19 and pursuant to Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order number 20-69, the city of Opa-locka has been holding its meetings virtually using the Zoom teleconferencing platform. As of November 2020, the city of Opa-locka will meet in person with social distancing while still allowing virtual participation via Zoom. In-person meetings will be held in the auditorium at Shervandi Village, 215 Purvis Avenue, Opa-locka, Florida, with off-site participants joining by Zoom. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the public meetings and public hearings at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka. For meetings held in person with virtual participation, members of the public wishing to address the body on any agenda item may do so in person or virtually. Space for in-person attendance is very limited due to COVID-19 social distancing. Members of the public wishing to address the commission are strongly encouraged to participate virtually. To participate virtually, please register by emailing public comments at opalockafl.gov at least 2 hours prior to the scheduled meeting time to request the meeting link. Those wishing to provide comments on any agenda item are encouraged to do so in advance by submitting their comment via email to publiccomments@opalockafl.gov. Comments on any agenda item must be submitted 2 hours prior to the scheduled meeting time. Comments received after the deadline will be kept for the record, but will not be read during the meeting. If you have any comments for more than one agenda item, please state which item you are commenting on.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any citizens that have registered?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anyone that pre-registered. However, there may be people in the audience that have some comments.
All right. Since there are none online, citizens forum is open.
Good evening. Good evening. Natasha Irvin, 670 Duna Avenue. I am a longtime resident of Opa-locka, a homeowner, business owner, and a chair of the Recreation Board. About 7 years ago, the Booster Club was created to help the City of Opa-locka Park and Recreation Department. The following year, we were officially deemed partners with the Park and Recreation Department by the commission under Mayor Myra Taylor. We were given a beautiful ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate our partnership and new residents, complete with washer and dryer for our kids' uniforms maintenance. Later, the city would fall on hard times and cancel all scheduled events. At that time, my vice president, Chris Roberts, and I decided we had to do something to save the toy drive. With that in mind, we started asking Opa-locka businesses for donations, only to be told no over and over. With determination, we decided to start fundraising. We sold food, we had car washes, held raffles, and turned to our family and friends for donations. We pulled it off. 150 gifts, 16 bikes, and we were overjoyed. Fast forward over the years, we now have relationship with Opa-locka businesses as well as businesses in our neighboring cities. Once we were able to show them that we were doing what we were doing, they were eager to assist. We now, along with our partners and donors, provide 100 bikes, electric scooters, electric ride-on cars, toys for 300 to 400 kids, and tablets. We even donated toys to our two Opa-locka schools. We purchased really nice toys for our kids. Parents are always elated with the quality of toys we give out. We've never had a complaint. And due to our previous success we've had with the toy drive, we would love to continue our partnership with the City of Opa-locka Parks and Recreation Department. Ms. Roberts and I both are lifelong residents of Opa-locka, and this is our way of giving back to our community. We are extremely proud that as of this year, we are expanding our services to include our community at large. Our first major event will be this Saturday, when we will be providing our community with 100 food boxes. Thank you. And if for whatever reason you all have a different avenue in which you're going, we would like for you guys to inform us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. 1, 2, hello. All right, good afternoon. My name is Gary Johnson. My address is 13235 Alexander Drive, Opa-locka, Florida, 33054. Now, the reason I'm here, I'm trying to figure out which way I want to start from with the city of Opa-locka. And I don't want the vice mayor, the mayor, the councilman, the city manager, city clerk, nobody to take this personal. I honestly feel that the incident that happened yesterday is not a new incident as far as inner cities in America, shootings. My question to you guys would be, I could recall a few months ago when we had the curfew. The police was not only overbearing in the Opa-locka, I'm gonna say Gloria to Gardens, they didn't have any manners for the residents that were there. So now that the curfew is over, we don't get to see anybody anymore. The last 8 shootings were actually on the outside of the apartment complex, which is Port Said Road. This was brought to attention of quite a few. Nothing was done. 9 kids is shot. Everybody's upset. But I feel that it could have been avoided if somebody would have just came and listened to the community as far as what things could be implemented. Another quick question is, yes, you guys offered to take and let's say, okay, start a crime watch program. The residents declined it. So I'm not putting the whole blame on the city of Opa-locka. But I feel that maybe if we take and have some type of form as far as what could we do as far as the shooting from Port Said Road inside of the complex, that might be thing. My second point of concern is now we're in the end of November, hurricane season, the flooding. I remember you guys looking at a Zoom meeting said that the property owners them needed to take care of the retention pond. I believe the retention pond, I took pictures. I believe I emailed a few of you guys to show you that the retention pond is working. The problem is not the retention pond. What we discovered later is that on the opposite side of the wall, two drains that are on the road Alexandra are covered with a man-made street by the junkyard. So although the retention pond is shooting the water toward the lakes, it's not gonna work for the simple reason the two manholes on the opposite side of the wall is covered. So I hope that we could take and try to create some type of form and see, can we resolve it? Now we can't resolve it. Well, we can resolve it and hope the next time the rain season comes, we don't have to flood and get rid of 37 units, 37 tenants, put them away because the water is in the housing. And also, I hope we can take and come up with something to stop the shooting that's coming from outside the road, inside the complex, now that a kid shot. But we could have done something hopefully way before the kid was shot. You know, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me. Have a blessed day.
Since forum is open. All right, do I have any response to from the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Davis?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Gary and Glorietta Gardens. As you know, I work closely with you guys on the tenant association and the residents over at Glorietta Gardens Apartments. As it relates to the most recent shootings, you know, this is no new issue. This is something that all of us on here, up here sitting on the dais have contemplated, you know, numerous times, is how do we solve crime, right? How do we solve violence? And I'll tell you, it's one of those difficult issues to kind of bring a solution to and to wrap our hands around. Commissioner Kelly and myself, I know we sponsored legislation to require apartment complexes of a certain size to require, I think at the time it was armed security. And we've, you know, since moved, you know, to lead to requiring police security as opposed to that. So one of those measures was actually put in place to solve the issue that you're speaking to, which is, you know, violence in the community. Mrs. Irvin, as it relates to the toy drive, I'm not sure exactly what we're doing on the city side, but I know that I did ask the manager, you know, because I know historically speaking, we've had several Christmas events. So whether it's giving out bikes or toys, you know, the Booster Club is doing something, the commissioner's hosting something. And pretty much my sentiments was, you know, I wanted to see something that was more, I guess, coordinated, a more coordinated effort. You know, I know we all have ideas, but again, we all serve one community. And I believe, you know, impact just goes further when you combine resources and really put your best foot forward. So I'm not sure what direction we're going in as far as a toy drive, but I would like to see those efforts consolidated if possible. And I think that's it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor,
Vice Mayor. Commissioner Burke?
wait a minute. There was a decision made that the Booster Club is no longer going to be affiliated with Parks Department doing the toy drive. Ms. Irvin, did anybody inform you of that? Mr. Mayor, can I?
Usually your responses during this time. Commissioner Burke.
Okay. Well, no, I was not aware that the Booster Club was no longer affiliated with Parks and Recreation Department for the toy giveaway. Now, for the years I've been here, I know that these citizens of the Booster Club, when the city had no money and could not hold a toy drive for the kids in the city of Opa-locka, These people got together. They washed cars. They sold French fries. They sold hot dogs to get money to provide toys for our kids. And now we're saying that we have money now. We no longer need them. We want to go in a different direction. What direction? I haven't even heard that. What direction are we going in? If there was a problem with the booster clubs and Parks Department doing the Christmas giveaway, I think the least thing the city could have did was had a meeting with the booster club and express any desires that they had a problem with and see if it could have been worked out. But we're always saying we want participation from our citizens. And when our citizens go above and beyond to participate in the city, and then we turn around and say, we no longer want them to participate with the city. But this is the first I'm hearing of this. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I don't know anything about the city going in a different direction. It hadn't been discussed with me. I would like to find out more about this, Ms. Irwin, and I'll get back with you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments for Citizens Forum?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bass?
To Irvin, as of tomorrow, I'm at your disposal. Thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. Could I ask the manager or Mr. Ellis, whoever's the manager still on, what has been determined, if anything, regarding toy giveaway? Because I heard the Vice Mayor ask in terms of one more collaborative effort. So I'm assuming he's not saying he doesn't want. I think he's saying we don't have multiple or triple, but I want to hear from administration. As one of my other colleagues mentioned, has there been something said or indicated that we're not going to have a partnership with the boosters? Has that been determined of some like?
Mr. Mayor,
Mayor to the manager.
may I?
Mr. Manager?
City has not made any official notification to the Booster Club in regards to their participation with the city this year. Last year, upon coming on as city manager, we attempted to work with the Booster Club as far as providing financial assistance. And what our finance department determined is that they needed a 501c3 and to be officially registered with the state of Florida as an entity in order to seek donation from the city, in order to provide the city's donation towards the toy drive. At no time has my administration denied this fact. I've offered to meet with both individuals, and we will be meeting in the near future to discuss their aspirations as far as the holiday season. But the city manager's office nor the city of Opa-locka has sent out any communication saying that they are not working with the Booster Club. I know we made notification of the Booster Club being registered with the state, and I believe they're registered with the state now. I don't know the status of the 501c3, but that is required in order to receive any funds from the city as far as donation towards the event. But at no time did we say we're not coordinating. I think the intent for everybody on the dais, as well as myself, is exactly what the Vice Mayor said. We desire a more coordinated effort in that there's a partnership with the city and the Booster Club so we can do joint events. I think the issues we had in past is the city would have an event, the Booster Club would sponsor an event, and there'd be various other events throughout the city. And I think we need a more collaborative effort. If there's going to be an event and the Booster Club is being involved, that it is done in sync with the city through joint working and joint sponsorship at one time. The Booster Club is properly identified as a 501c3 to receive monies from the city as far as reimbursement in regards to various activities that they do, as well as being registered with the state. And that's the only requirement the city manager's office has. I don't know the input or problems or issues that maybe anybody else have on the dais, but I'm speaking on official terms of what's required, and we're more than open to work with the Booster Club if those conditions are met.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So obviously I will not be here starting tomorrow, but it sounds like you said you're going to be meeting with them and a coordinated effort, I guess, to make sure that the citizens and the community are served. I do share the sentiments of my colleague when we didn't have the Booster Club and those individuals stepped in and stepped up. So I hope because we got a few dollars, we don't forget from whence we've come. So hopefully the commission will follow through and we will have a successful and a great holiday season, including the Christmas light, tree lighting and all of those kind of things. So I would hope that as those meetings take place, that would occur regarding that, since you said you're going to have meetings with the individuals. The other thing I wanted to speak on under the Citizens Forum, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, there is an item on the agenda tonight regarding public safety. So I'll wait to that portion of it, but there is a great concern, and I do share your frustration, Mr. Johnson, about really having a coordinated effort with the challenges that are going on at the apartment complex there and others. So hopefully going forward, the city will really address that and do something in a more cohesive manner to address those kind of challenges. I'll wait for the other part. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly, and for all those that have spoken at Citizens Forum. First, let's touch on the toy drive and the partnership. I did look up and did see that the Opa-locka Booster Club did take the step to become a certified business with the state of Florida as of October. So that's good to see that we're taking the steps in order to continue that partnership. I did request, and actually in future agenda items, one of the things I'm talking about a lot is us having a annual list of events that we coordinate as a city, as a commission, as a community. So that's going to be hopefully put up on our agenda for our next upcoming meeting, so that we can establish these events and we all can coordinate on one accord, on one page to move the city forward and ensure that all holidays are taken care of. With that, since the time I staffed about what were the plans for the tree lighting and toy giveaway. And at the time when I was advised this past week, there were no plans. So this coming Monday, we do have a meeting to discuss those details, and hopefully with this event protocol, we can ensure that moving forward, these events are planned way in advance, and all of our community partners have their place to make it a very successful event for our community. In regards to Glorietta Gardens, there are a lot of challenges happening over there in that property. And it's not good for any human being at all to be living in fear and flooding with those type of hazards. We have been working with management as a city to address all those issues that were raised by Mr. Howard, Gary, sorry. And one of the issues in particular that we need to focus on is the flooding. And as you will look on today's agenda, we have an option on the table of what we can do as a city to move that forward, along with what we're doing to enforce the code all around the city of Opa-locka. I would like the manager to take a moment to discuss the activities on what was brought up by the citizens in terms of the manhole, because I did inquire about that. But before we go into that, there's also other activities that we've had agreements with the management to address the flooding on that property and also public safety. In one of the development agreements that we recently passed a few years ago, we have requested facilities for a police substation. And I've inquired about with the manager in terms of where we are in terms of the activation of that substation on that property. So I'd like them to give an update on where we are with that too. So Mr. Manager, could you please address the status of the substation for our Opa-locka police there, and also the concerns in regards to the flooding situation with the surrounding properties.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, thank the resident for their comments. In regards to that, I've received several phone calls and emails in regards to the property. I would tell you, over the last week, we've had very, very productive meetings with the management and ownership of the property, meetings that have not occurred that I know of in the past, as far as a coordinated effort with our elected officials, with city staff, with the city manager's office, the actual owners of the property and their management company. In the development agreement, when Glorietta Garden apartments were built, in that agreement, the property owner and management are solely responsible for the drainage of the property. The city is looking into any contributing factors that the city may have in regards to the contribution of flooding on the property. I will tell you, this is a joint effort with the city and Glorietta Gardens. There's issues with leveling of land out there where you have water that's settling, where the ownership and the management has to come out and regrade that land and regrade the area to prevent flooding and make the water slope in a different direction. I know my staff, along with Glorietta Garden management, was on property and site today looking at the drainage pond in regards to the pipe that leads from the retention pond to the canal, which may be clogged or potentially broken. There is a dispute between management and the city at this time on who's responsible of fixing that. The management today is now saying that due to trucks driving on Alexandria Drive, it may cause cracking in the pipe going to the canal. The city disputes this, and actually immediately tomorrow, the Public Works Department will be digging on Alexandria Drive to expose the pipe and to scope it to see if it's actually cracked on the city side due to the roadway and this construction and the heavy vehicles being on the road compared to management being responsible for it. So at this time, we're in limbo because the city wants to do its due diligence in order to hold the property management responsible, and we're doing that. There was a hole in the wall created, and that was a part of a dispute of if the city created a hole in the wall leading from the roadway to the property. Did the city create a hole from the junkyard to the property? That's been thoroughly investigated. As far as the junkyard, they are responsible for punching that hole in the wall with a forklift. They have been fined. They have been placed on notice. And I believe that hole has been filled by our Public Works Department, has been sealed. As far as Alexandria Drive and the wall there was an accidental damage done to that wall by a third-party contractor that worked for the city. And that repair was immediately made by that third-party contractor, but that has not contributed to any flooding, not the extensive flooding that happens in Glorietta Gardens. The city has requested its engineers to do an assessment of the area. We suggest to management to hire an engineer to do assessment of their property so we can come together for a solution. Tonight, you're going to see legislation in regards to the city taking action as far as issues with the property in the area that management should have been doing, but the city is going to step forward and do it, put funds towards it. And we will be seeking reimbursement from management, either through legal processes or through a lien placed on the property. So the city is stepping up to look at this issue, this several-year-old issue that has exacerbated to a situation where it's beyond reprehensible And I totally agree with the mayor and the commission on this. And we are working towards a solution. And we are diligently dealing with management. As far as the police substation, as recent as today, I've emailed management in regards to requirements that we need with the substation in order to have officers in there. First, there needs to be security cameras installed on the substation so officers can see the exterior of the substation as they enter and exit the substation. The windows need to be tinted and darkened out so individuals cannot see inside the substation or whatever activities that are going on in the substation, as well as other security measures. I received a reply email back about all these cameras that are upgraded on the property and all the extensive work they've done, but they still have not done anything to address the substation. They said that should be addressed shortly. Once management installs the proper cameras, proper security for the substation, that substation will be immediately manned by on-duty officers as well as off-duty officers that are on site. So that is the city's plan. As the commission may know, previous administration within the police department failed to use the substation after being requested many times by the commission, as well as myself, to use the substation. We have new management in the police department now, and we're moving in a different direction to protect our residents, our citizens. We, as far as the shooting on Port Said Road, the city has a street crimes unit that has been working diligently to curb violent crime, both at 22nd Avenue and Glorietta. This street crimes unit has recovered dozens of weapons, great amounts of narcotics since their inception over the past 3 months. And they will be focusing on the area of Port Said Road and the other areas of the city that are hotspots. So we are well aware of the issues, of the flooding, of the violent crime. And please believe, as a law enforcement professional prior to becoming a city manager, I take these things very seriously, and we will be taking decisive action in regards to protecting the residents of Glorietta Garden. But management needs to step up to the plate, take their responsibility that they have for the residents and property as far as the flooding and the public safety, meet the city's requirements and man the substation, and we will be able to efficiently and effectively support the residents in Glorietta Gardens in dealing with flooding as well as public safety. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And just to give acknowledgement due to the recent flooding events that happened throughout the city, we had actually a lot of support from the county in order to remove the water from there, and also from our state representative, James Bush, to get those people into housing that were affected by the extensive flooding. So we want to make sure we do as much as we can to address that. With that, I'm going to close citizens forum, and hopefully we can move expeditiously because we do have a swearing in ceremony happening immediately following this event. So let's move on to the business of the people. Madam Attorney, item 13.2.
An emergency resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, ratifying the city manager's decision to issue a purchase order for H.W. Lochner, Inc. for the provision of qualified professional services to design and prepare a complete set of construction contract plans for the retention pond rehabilitation project at Glorietta Gardens Apartments, authorizing the city manager to enter into a formal agreement regarding same in an amount not to exceed $36,600, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, thank you. You want to speak into the mic a little more? We could barely hear you. So with that, do I have a motion?
Moving for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Mr. Manager, could you introduce this item?
Thank you. This is the item that the city manager's office sponsored on behalf of the Public Works Department. I asked Mr. Ariel Austin to come up to explain this matter in detail to the commission.
Aria Austin, Public Works Director. In light of the flooding conditions at Glorieta, we thought it best to have an engineer directly study the problems that exist in this area to provide us with plans for resolving the canal. We've asked the contractor upfront to allow for 1 hour of storage in the retention pond without the activation of any pumps. In the event that we have a catastrophic failure of electricity, they will be able to mitigate any flooding by storing the water for a period of time to allow for a safe operation of the facility and then pumping it to the canal. After the determination is made, including the possibility of deep well injection systems rather than pumping it out to the canal, we'll directly inject it back into the ground. That's also a consideration, after which they will be providing us with plans to perform construction with whichever direction they've studied and accepted.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Austin? Floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Austin, yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
Mr. Austin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Austin, I see this is, the city is spending $36,000. And this is for just, this is just for plans. This is not for the construction.
This is not for the construction, no, sir.
So, Mr. Austin, why is the city spending, okay, no, but we won't go there. The $36,000 is for the plans,
To perform a study and develop
a
plans.
performance study. Okay, once we, the city, pay the $36,000, then who's gonna pay for the construction?
The project will be put out to bid, after which it will be a determination if the building owners would pay for the construction or if the city will have to do that in light of life, health, and safety of the residents in Glorieta Gardens.
Okay, Mr. Austin, this is private property. I've been through this before. We've had a lot of citizens in this city who pay taxes, whose houses was flooded.
Right.
I've had phone calls. I got one of our employees had a resident who's got to refurnish their whole house. And this man has a house that was flooded out. And he has to incur the cost. I sympathize with the people in Glorieta Gardens. I used to live back there. That place has been flooding for years. And for the city to take this on, when we have flooding ourselves, we should be in the business of making sure that the owners take care of this. We should be in the business of making sure that the owners take care of this. We got streets that are flooded. The money that we're paying for Gloria is, Mr. Mayor, to the city attorney, please. Mr. Attorney, is there a way we can recoup our money?
Well, we were told earlier this week that some of these issues may have gone to code enforcement before. So I think the manager is looking into that and to see where that is in the process of what had been done. And if there was some mechanism that has been going through code enforcement, then we'll figure that out. Otherwise, the other alternative is to enforce the development agreement, which is your legal right if the commission decided to pursue the landowner to cause compliance with the development agreement. That's certainly an option, but it sounds like there are communications taking place right now, so the manager would be in a better position to discuss those issues and whether litigation would be fruitful or not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
On this item,
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to kind of piggyback off Commissioner Burke's concern, when I first saw the item, I knew exactly what it was for, which is the issue that we've been dealing with, the retention pond at Glorietta Gardens. I'm also aware of the public health concerns, as you know, storm water and sewer water, which is wastewater, sometimes mix. When we have large rain or large floods within the city, which causes a public health concern. So, that this issue is, real serious. It is a public health concern. So I do understand why, I guess the manager is seeking some sort of remedy or solution to the issue. However, in 2015, the most recent agreement, developers agreement with Glorietta Gardens in the city specifically states that Glorietta Gardens is responsible for the maintenance of the retention pool.
Right.
So with that being said, and seeing the $36,000 expenditure that's being proffered tonight to pretty much do what is phase one, I guess, of the initial project, which is putting a plan in place.
Correct.
And then at said point, when the project is to be implemented, I guess the owners or the city would foot the bill at that point.
Correct.
I mean, I do know the dynamics, like we do own the land, and the agreement specifically said for Glorietta Gardens to maintain the retention pool. So it is a partnership in essence. My position is, I'm feeling like Commissioner Burke. Like, I don't think we should expend taxpayers' dollars to, remedy a private issue, because ultimately, we have an agreement in place, that says that they're supposed to maintain a retention pool, and being that that hasn't taken place. I just feel like this in essence set bad precedents. Like, I don't want to reward property owners for not complying. And if you know anything about the history of these particular property owners, they more recently got millions of dollars in tax credits to refinance the property. So being that flooding has been a long-standing issue within the community, and not to have seen that addressed in the most recent rehab that was done through tax credits, done through subsidies, to not see that addressed, I must say I can't support it. So, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
oh,
if
all
I
right,
if I could mention a secondary item to this concern.
all right, I wanted to get the commission's thoughts and then go ahead and
Okay.
go for management, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I know the hours, they say, far spent, but I must, without echoing my colleagues' sentiments directly, I do agree with them. The challenge I find with this whole dynamic is when I read the legislation, we are actually ratifying what the manager's already done. So my question really is to the attorney, Mr. Mayor, because the manager's already taken this action, we're ratifying. If we do not approve it, we're going to be on the hook anyway, if I interpret the legislation correctly, because we're ratifying what he's already done. Am I reading that correctly, Mr. Mayor, to the manager, to the attorney?
If a document has been signed,
Can't hear.
can you hear me?
Speaking to the mic.
If a document has been executed according to the terms of whatever that document was, you maybe, I'd have to look and see what has been executed, if anything.
Okay, well, when I'm looking, Mr. Mayor, when I see the term ratifying, he's already taken action. I guess that he believed he needed to take. So we're ratifying what he's done. So to me, even though we may be opposed to it, as I look at the document, we're on the hook for the $36,000 regardless. That's the way I interpret it. Now, the attorney's saying she'd have to look at it, I guess, again, but when I look at it, we're already on the hook. My challenge really is, to me, there should have been a special meeting called for something of this magnitude because as my colleagues have mentioned, this is a long-standing issue that goes back with many issues, and the manager alluded to some of them in his comments when he basically said that the owners need to step up to the plate. Well, if we keep bailing them out, there's no need for them to step up to the plate. And like one of my colleagues, I got calls too about flooding on streets. People couldn't get out to go to work, and yet we're pumping water, which I understand, you know, health and safety, but we didn't get to some of the other areas around the city by Archbishop and Curtis Drive and over by York Street and over by Superior Gardens that had flooding issues for 2 or 3 days either. So if we're going to do something and embark on that kind of plan, we've got to include the whole city. So if we are on the hook or not on the hook, that to me becomes the question, because there's no sense of not ratifying it. We're on the hook because we're just going to get sued for the $36,000 anyway. And the second point, and my concern is once the plans are done, because when I looked in the document that you provided, it said that you were going to seek to get the reimbursement back from the owners. And to me, that's going to be a challenge, but also the other challenge is going to be once the plans are there to make them actually pay for the implementation of the plans, which according to the information in the packet is going to be in the hundreds of thousands or whatever potential dollars for the actual work. So I don't want to set the city up to just have some plans and not going to get through and give folks a false hope. But to me, the real question simply is ratifying what he's already done. If he's already done it, and has he already done it? Mr. Mayor, since he put Mr. Austin up here, has it already been
It's
ratified, executed, whatever?
contracts.
So he's already on board.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just somebody. Okay, is he already on board?
Yes, yes, they're on board.
Okay, so we signed the agreement. He's committed to doing this work for $36,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's your answer. We're on the hook for 36. It doesn't matter what we do, which I have a real problem. I mean, I'm not going to be here, but I have a real problem with putting out that kind of money without having a special meeting. You should have a special meeting, health and safety. You can call them in 24 hours. And I don't know, maybe the manager saw something, so I'm not going to get into that, but hopefully going forward, when you have these kind of situations, that will take place. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, my colleagues, while I agree totally with everything you said, if we don't go ahead and ratify this, you're still gonna have to pay. I would just hope that there is some kind of plan laid out, Mr. Mayor, as you all are meeting, and you mentioned you got partners that are involved, and we appreciate the efforts, the State Representative Bush and those in the county and all of the efforts that you all have put forward. But please don't just have these plans without some kind of way of knowing that they're going to be put into place with actually doing what needs to be done. So having said that, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Manager, Mr. Austin.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, the secondary aspect of this safety and emergency is the fact that the sanitary sewer system is being directly impacted, which could cause a catastrophic failure to our systems from pumping stormwater into our sanitary sewer system. This is one station is directly connected to our master pump station, and a failure of that station will fail most of our city systems. So that's the urgency in which we had to proceed to get this work done to try and resolve this concern.
All right, thank
Mayor.
you, Mr. Austin. Oh, Mr. Manager.
First, I appreciate the sentiments of the members of the commission in regards to their concerns in regards to the $36,000 expenditure. At the end of the day, the buck does stop with me in regards to this action. This action was done because of several complaints from residents in Glorietta Gardens, Durham, Florida Department of Health, Representative Bush's office, our federal elected office officials, their inquiries, EPA, and various other entities in regards to this matter, because the flooding in Glorietta Gardens does directly impact our sanitary sewer system. The Vice Mayor alluded to this. how stormwater mixes with sanitary sewer water, and you end up having a larger issue, which is what happens every time Glorietta Gardens floods. There's a mixture of rainwater with sanitary sewer water because it does impact our pump stations. Again, as the city manager, I made this decision under a urgency based on the health, welfare, and safety of the residents of Glorietta Gardens, as well as the residents of Opa-locka, in that if that master pump station fails, that catastrophic failure will cause sanitary sewer backups in homes all across the city of Opa-locka. So we want to request this assessment. Secondly, in order to hold the owners responsible for the maintenance of the property, the city has to have some type of documentation in regards to plans, in regards to a determination by a professional engineer of the cause of the flooding in Glorietta Gardens, so our city attorney can take action. Merely asking management to take action has not worked for several years. I want to make sure we had the professional assessments in place if needed to take legal action against Glorietta Gardens, number one, for reimbursement of the $36,000, which we will be requesting reimbursement from Glorietta, and they've refused to do so. I will consult the city attorney for reimbursement based on the development agreement, because that's where we stand on the development agreement that the commission was provided a copy of, and the section showing that management is responsible for the sanitary sewer. So the city does have strong ground in regards to seeking reimbursement, either through voluntary, involuntary means. We want to make sure we have plans in place, so if we do go to court and we have plans and we have an estimated cost, that a judge can enter an appropriate order with our city attorney's assistance. So I said we had to take the step to be proactive to, number one, have an engineer ascertain the true cause of the flooding, have plans in place so our city attorney can take action if needed. Number one, to recoup the $37,000 that we're spending now, and recoup any future expenses in regards to the city as it affects our sanitary sewer system. So I felt this was prudent. I felt it was needed. I stand on it. And I asked for the commission. You guys brought me in to do a job, a yeoman's job at that. And I asked for your undivided support on this legislation. I've heard some of you all say you don't support the legislation. I hope after I'm done speaking, you can understand my rationale in doing this, and I hope the legislation can be supported moving forward today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm gonna try to keep my points as brief as possible because I can see the ladies in red and everyone getting ready for this swearing in ceremony that we have. I do want to make it a point, per our charter as a commission, in section 2.5, 10 and 11, the powers of the commission is to provide for the safe and sanitary housing of low-income families, and to adopt, modify, and carry out plans to propose clearance and rehabilitation of blighted areas. It is our duty as a commission to provide for our residents and make sure that people are taken care of. And I do support in making sure the manager and making sure this gets done. The living conditions out there in regards to the flooding, it's just unconscionable. And we have to make a step. As the manager said, this is something that's going to give us an idea of what the situation is so that we can hold everyone accountable. But this is along with, as you know, this commission declared a flooding emergency throughout the city of Opa-locka. We've pulled together architects and engineers to address these issues. And we're currently in the middle of doing a citywide flooding assessment to address all the areas. So this is just a component for everyone to understand of a citywide effort to address the flooding and dealing with the conditions for those in most need within our city right now. So I'm in full support of making sure that we move this item, but I do hear the sentiments of my colleagues very loudly and clearly that we need to hold management accountable. and ensure that we have code enforcement that are doing their duty to ensure that our codes are being upheld in that property, and also that we are aware of these decisions. So I will ask that the manager keep the commission abreast of these expenditures, so it's not a shocker before we get to these meetings, and we have more understanding before tonight. So I thank everyone for this. If no further comments. All right, let's call for the vote. Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
No choice, yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
15A1. Speaking to the mic.
That's better.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, Madam Clerk.
we had an add-on item 14-1.
Oh, sorry, we do have 14 add-on. I apologize. Thank you for catching that, Madam Clerk. So let's go to our add-on item 14-1.
An emergency ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending Chapter 13 of the City of Opa-locka's Code of Ordinances entitled Licenses and Business Regulations, Article 16 entitled Landlord Permit, specifically amending Section 13274, subsection 3, to require that all apartment buildings with 150 units or more to be required to have an on-site armed off-duty police officer. Security, amending Section 13278, 5B, to require permit applicants with 150 or more apartment units to complete a separate form to be created by city containing an acknowledgement that a daily log will be kept containing the name of the on-site off-duty police officer before a permit shall it be issued, providing for adoption of representation, providing for a conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in code, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, this is a public hearing item. All right, public hearing is open. All right, public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. I will have the sponsors of the item introduce this. Well, I guess the sponsor will be the city manager now, huh, right? But just
That's a clerical mistake. The sponsors are Commissioner Kelly and the Vice Mayor Davis. That is a clerical error.
all right, so Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't prolong the time. I think we discussed this at length the first time. The only question was the amount of units, and I see that has been adjusted. I would just hope going forward, like all the other things and all the other issues concerning the apartment complexes, that we really hold folks accountable. But one of the things we must do, and we did it before, and there was a decrease in the activity in the apartment complexes that were having challenges. And so we need to do that again. I think it's incumbent, if we're concerned about health and safety and water and sewer and all of those good things, we need to be concerned about the safety of the residents in those complexes that are having the challenges. So that is one of the reasons why I'm very glad to see it back on the agenda. I will say that in years past, a while back, the apartment complexes did have it and it worked out well. And for some reason, it went away. Well, not for some reason, probably was cheaper for them to hire their own, but that doesn't work. So I'm glad to see it back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Kelly, for allowing me to co-sponsor the item. As you know, we've all been working hard, as I said before, on just looking at ways to make our community safer and to remedy violence. And, you know, that's just one of those things that is very hard and very difficult. to wrap your arms around. But, this commission is working. Thank you for Commissioner Kelly for helping us kind of think through that issue and ways to make our, in particular, our multifamily complexes more safer and making it more community oriented. So again, I feel that this move to allow police security is definitely a more safer step to providing security and making sure our community is able to enjoy themselves and flourish. So thank you.
All right. Any
Mr.
other
Mayor?
discussion?
Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor?
Burke?
Mr. Mayor, yes, sir. This is great. This is great, but as Commissioner Kelly said before, we had it before. Now, if we're gonna be responsible and we're gonna enforce this, and we're not gonna let the owners come and say, hey, this is causing a hardship on us. We're gonna have to pass it on to the tenants. If we're serious about this, we're gonna really have to stay on this and we're gonna have to enforce this. Because we had this once before, where the large apartment complexes had off-duty police officers and we got away from it. So I'm asking for the health and safety of the people in these large units, let's stay on top of this. Thank you, sir.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right. 15A1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving tentative plat review for the construction and operation of a warehouse distribution center on the property located at 12700 Northwest Lejeune Road, identified by folio 08-2129-000-0032 in the B3 zoning district, provided for approval, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
All right. This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, Madam Clerk.
we do have a representative from the company that's should be on the line. I
Okay.
believe I gave you the name of the individual.
Jane Storms. Okay. Is Storms on? Yes. Is Ms. Storms on the line? IT?
Hey, hello?
Yes.
Hi, there, okay. Hi, good evening. I'm just here to have, if you have any questions on my item, I'd be happy to help.
Thank you. All right. Public hearing is closed. Madam, do I have a motion? Commission, do I have a motion for item 14A1?
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor Davis. Second by Commissioner Burke. Any discussion on this item? All right. Oh. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke, Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
16A1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving and adopting the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency's proposed general operating and tax increment fund budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2020, and ending September 30th, 2021, as set forth and Exhibit A, directing the executive director to transmit a copy of said budget to the city of Opa-locka and Miami-Dade County, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for a severability clause, providing for a conflict and repealer clause, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Madam Clerk, do we have any online public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion? Moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Mr. Manager, you want to briefly introduce this item?
As the commission knows, on a yearly basis, city commission is required to vote on and ratify the budget for the CRA to be incorporated in the city's budget. So this is a standard item that is presented to the commission on a yearly basis. We're just asking for approval. Mr. Gay will be available for any specific questions regarding the budget, if the commission may have any. Mr. Gay?
Is there any questions for Mr. Gay? No? All right, any discussion on this item? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke? Yes. Vice Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Mayor Pygott?
Yes.
Motion passes first reading.
16B1.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending the annual adopted general proprietary and special revenue funds budgets for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2019, and ending September 30th, 2020, adjusting revenues and expenditures as reflected in Exhibit A, providing for the expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for appropriation of all budgets and expenditures, providing for fees consistent with appropriations and amendment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. First reading and public hearing was held on November 12th, 2020, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Madam Clerk, do we have any online public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Burke, second by Vice Mayor Davis. Mr. Manager, want to briefly introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As everybody's aware, this is a budget amendment that was prepared by the budget administrator. He's available for any questions of the commission based on any changes that were done between the first and second reading. I asked Mr. Anthony to come up and brief the commission on any changes specifically, since we're time constrained, any specific changes and any questions specifically that the commission may have.
All right, Mr. Anathan.
Hi, good evening, Bob Anathan, Budget Administrator. To highlight the changes.
Speaking to the mic. I
Okay.
can barely hear you.
Yes, sir. To refer to the changes that have been made, there are two major changes that have been made to budget amendment number 6. We made a lot of small ones, but I'm not going to go into those are the nickel dime ones where we changed a particular account by a couple $100 and so forth. The major changes beyond what we discussed previously are we discussed 5 previously substantive changes. I'm not going to go back over those. We did add 2 of them. One that we added is $115,406. That, as you'll remember, when the settlement was reached with the bank last summer to release the $5.2 million, the city had to pay for the bank legal fees. That was not separately budgeted. We're identifying that right now. That's part of the budget amendment. And then the last item that was not discussed previously is in regard to wastewater processing. At the moment, there are 13 months of charges in that account. We believe that may or may not be correct. For the moment, I brought in $65,000 to cover it, just in case we do have to cover that 13th month. Everything else is as was discussed before.
All right. Any questions or comments on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. Just briefly, Mr. Anthem, under the, I guess, maintenance repair of police vehicles, the $30,000, is that just for repair and maintenance or painting too?
It was,
There's one document
it
doesn't
did,
say painting,
yeah, it does
the
include
other one
painting.
says painting, so what?
Yes,
is
sir,
it
it does
exactly?
include the repainting of those vehicles.
Can't hear you.
It does include the repainting of those vehicles. Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's all of the vehicles?
No, sir, I believe it's 9 vehicles.
Okay, and the year-end acquisition for the public safety equipment, could you just be a little more specific on that?
Yes, sir. In September, with the new administration that came aboard, new command staff, if you will, they looked and realized that they had a deficit in a lot of supplies they needed for day-to-day operation. And consequently, a funding source, the need was identified, and they did go out and acquire the materials. Includes things like basic things like ammunition, handcuffs, things of that nature.
Okay, and the last thing is you indicate in the document what came from the manager, mostly that you're doing now will close out, well, go over to 21 that you're carrying over. But the amendment will be more than enough carrying it over, you believe?
Sir, I think you're looking at the next item, which is going to be Budget Amendment 1 to fiscal year 21. But I can answer that now.
No, it says 16B1. I'm looking at maybe it wasn't meant to be put in there. Okay, never mind.
No, the presentation covers both 16B1 and I think it's probably 16B2. I apologize. They were put into one presentation.
No, they're separate documents from the manager, but that's fine. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Baz,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
16B2. And we have a substitute for this item?
Yes. Do you
Okay.
have a copy, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I do. Madam Attorney.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, amending the annual adopted general proprietary and special revenue funds budgets for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021, adjusting revenues and expenditures as reflected in Exhibit A, providing for the expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing the city manager to take certain actions, providing for appropriation of all budgets and expenditures, providing for fees consistent with appropriations and amendment, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. First reading was held on November 12th, 2020, and this is sponsored by the city manager.
All right, so public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Madam Clerk, do we have any online comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, public hearing is closed. Do I have a motion?
Move for discussion?
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. Mr. Manager, could you briefly introduce this item?
Thank you. This is budget amendment number 1 for the new budget year. We felt it appropriate that some adjustments need to be made. I asked Mr. Anthony to come up and explain any significant adjustments that were made between the first reading and today only due to time constraints, and answer any questions of the commission that either myself or Mr. Anthony can answer.
Yes, sir. Good evening again, Bob Anathan, Budget Administrator. One major change that we made from the first hearing is, and Commissioner Kelly alluded to it a moment ago, there are many projects that are underway, and because of their nature, they start in one year, they carry into the second year. So what we've added are 16 projects that are underway right now, $2.8 million. We need to move the project costs so we can keep paying the bills, and then we move the funding that was approved in FY20 into FY21 so the funding's available to finish off the projects. This is not a decision item because you've already approved all the projects. It's just a question of moving the remaining portion of the project into the new fiscal year and the funding to support it. Additional item that's different from last time, when we made reference to the county CARES program, at that time we talked about $50,000. At this point, the program has been redirected. The intent now is of the $2.1 million that has been granted for the program, up to $1 million. So that is going to be used in terms of cash cards for food supermarkets to help those residents who have been impacted by COVID-19. The $1 million will pass through the city budget, so we have to reflect that in our budget. So in this budget amendment is the CARES Act administrative expense has been increased to $100,000. And then we've also had to bring $1 million in for these cash cards, all of which will be directly refunded or reimbursed by the county. So it's a big addition to the budget, but it's all reimbursable, so there's no bottom line impact. There are a couple items that I have classified as material. I've addressed most of those previously. The new projects or the new expenditures. Let me just get to it. Sorry. In addition to what we discussed about previously, we've added $1,000 for the commissioned professional organizations. That's for such things like it's been brought to our attention that there is a Florida Mayor's League, and this has been put in place to allow funding for programs such as that for various commission members as the need arises. And then the last thing that we did was to, I'm sorry, there are two other things that I've overlooked here. I apologize. The first thing we did is add $105,000 to the budget for an additional 10 police vehicles. It was felt that the inventory of police vehicles was in such bad shape that it would be necessary to bring aboard another 10 vehicles during the next couple of months. That'll be a total of 20 vehicles during the course of this year. One other item that's been added to it is we added $25,000 for grant writing services. We've located an excellent grant writer who has a tremendous return on investment. $25,000 is a cap. The projects normally go out in the range of $3,000 to $5,000 for projects. So there's a cap at $25,000. There's certainly no project that's going to be $25,000. And this grant writer has an excellent return on investment, so we think it's going to be money well spent. The one last thing that I haven't addressed before is we've added $10,000 to the budget for furniture for this building and other places. With the apparent departure of Teen Upward Bound, apparently a lot of the furniture will go with them. It needs to be replaced, and that's why that's been added to the budget. So that basically sums up the major changes that you've heard from the first hearing last week. And I will answer any questions that might come up from this.
Any questions or discussion for this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, a couple of questions. You mentioned the cars. I believe we're anticipating getting 10 in by end of November and the other ones by January. And so some of the funding that you referenced earlier, I'm assuming would be to retrofit and mark them or whatever. Is that what some of that funding was for?
Yes, sir. If you're referring to the $105,000, that's all. I'm sorry. If you're referring to the $105,000, that's an all-in number to get those cars operational.
Okay, and under the professional organization, I heard you mention the League of Mayors, and I'm assuming League of Cities is part of that too. Membership, because I'm trying to figure out $1,000 to me wouldn't be enough, but maybe I'm missing something.
No, sir. Such things as the League of Cities is really citywide. That's in the city manager's budget. This is really for various commissioners if there are various organizations that present themselves.
Okay, so anything that the commission is, any memberships for the commission are in the manager's budget?
Well, such things as the Florida League of Cities is in the manager's budget. Yes, sir.
No, I'm talking about like FBC Leo, the Florida Black Caucus, local elected officials, things of that nature. That's in the manager's budget too?
Recollection was that I believe is in the police chief's budget.
And where?
Police chief,
The police chief?
I think so, if recollection. I don't believe.
I don't think that'll be the police chief. That'll be either in the commission or the manager somewhere because they're memberships for elected officials. And we're going to be embarking on memberships and being a part of organizations, which I think is good. I don't think $1,000 is enough, but if it's in the manager's budget or in the police budget, you can always move it over and transfer it, I guess. But
Yes, sir. The manager's budget has $6,200 in it right now.
can't hear you.
It has $6,200 in it right now in the manager's budget, and we're adding another $1,000 for.
Okay, as long as it's somewhere, because $1,000 not gonna be enough. And you mentioned a $10,000 for furniture,
Yes,
for
sir.
parks, or one place?
For this, where Teen Upward Bound has been, they apparently own the furniture that's involved in terms of working with the kids and so forth. That apparently will go, if they go, we got some prices on it today. It'll probably be closer to $5,000 or $6,000 to replace the furniture.
Okay, so they've got $10,000 worth of furniture here that we're gonna have to replace?
That's, yes, sir, it's my understanding.
Um,
And again, it's going to be closer to 6,000 we found out today, but yes, it does have to be replaced.
okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor Davis?
thank you. I see that and maybe this isn't a question for the director, about the Burlington Canal project and just to get a current update. So I'll defer to through the mayor to Mr. Austin.
You want to update on the Burlington Canal project?
Yes.
My understanding is the contract is in progress, but has not been finally approved yet at this point. I believe there's some issues with the contract, the current contractor.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I asked Mr. Mayor is because I've just been receiving a lot of residential concerns in relation to the matter. As you know, our canals are, some of our most visible amenities in addition to our parks and various other items throughout the city, bus stops and different things that residents rely on. So just wanted to get an update on that. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Commissioner Burke?
Mr. Anderson, I don't know whose idea it was with the 10 additional police units, but kudos to them. God knows we need more police units. So whoever idea that was to get 10 more additional police units, kudos to them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No further comments on this item? All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, Mr. Manager, could you provide some brief highlights for your report? If you got anything?
Brief highlight. Mr. Mayor, I'll make it brief tonight because I know we have a special event that we're about 30 minutes late on. The manager's office has been diligently working with the community over the last 2 weeks in regards to Glorietta Gardens, the grant program in regards to the grocery giveaway, $250 grocery gift cards, as well as the rental assistance and mortgage assistance programs. The manager's office has been working diligently on that. The citywide assessment in regards to flooding is underway, as well as various other initiatives that are being really addressed. The last meeting, we kind of addressed the finances already as far as the status of the audit and the status of various other financial related items. I would say in my report today, I would like to personally thank Commissioner Kelly and Commissioner Bass for their service on the commission. They will be sorely, sorely missed. I would hope that even as private citizens, that both Commissioner Kelly and Bass still hold me accountable as a city manager as far as moving the city forward, and their vision that they have implemented during their time at the dais. More specifically, Commissioner Kelly's over 20 years of service to the city, his mentorship, his hard questions, and staying on me every single commission meeting in regards to various subjects has made me into a better man, into a better city manager, and a better individual. Commissioner Bass' kind, caring personality, her warm words of encouragement, her support of me day one as becoming the city manager for the city of Opa-locka, and always supporting me and allowing me to do my job has been immensely appreciated. A lot of people really don't have a lot of appreciation for the form of government that we have, being a manager council form of government. And I appreciate Commissioner Bass's total understanding and knowing our form of government, coming to me for guidance and advice and providing positive input to myself, my staff, and the community at large. And I ask for her continued support and continue to participate in regards to city-related activities, and continuously to hold me accountable as a city manager of the city to move the city forward based on her vision that she's had over the past 2 years on the dais. And that concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any questions or comments for the manager? All right, thank you. Any official board reports?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, moving on to future agenda items. Any future agenda items? All right, we'd like to briefly bring up, as I mentioned earlier during Citizens Forum, I think it's very important for us as a commission to discuss our event planning for the year. We've had some amazing events that we have traditionally done. Many have been spearheaded by Commissioner Kelly and his team, and want to make sure that we continue to develop our events and participation and have proper planning and more concerted effort. So I propose that we do create an event policy for the city in which we can approve a yearly calendar of events. We have forms in which we can submit events and raise funds for events together as a unit, as a commission, and as a community. So that's what I would like to have on our future agenda item. Thoughts, comments?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for putting this item forward. As you know, long before I got into politics, I was a community organizer, and one of my stakes in the city was community events. And I would always see the city and see different entities as far as nonprofits and different organizations host events. And, my hope was to always see those organizations work together. As I said earlier, I believe if we consolidate our efforts, we can increase our own capacity and therefore the reach in the community. We all serve one community, and though we all have different ideas, I believe a coordinated effort is the best way to move forward. So thank you for bringing this item forward. I believe this satisfies one of the findings from the Auditor General's report, which spoke specifically to special events and creating a policy and process to deal with that specific matter. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for proffering this. And I look forward to coming to consensus as a commission to put forth events yearly. Thank you.
All right. More thoughts? You want to vote on a placement of a event policy upcoming agenda, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burke? Vice Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Mayor Pygott?
Yes. All right. Anyone have any reports? All right. For Commissioner Kelly leave, I do want to make a mention really quickly. I had the pleasure and opportunity to witness and hear Commissioner Kelly, 35 years of service here in the city of Opa-locka. As our veteran commissioner, today is his last meeting as a commissioner in the city of Opa-locka, and it has been an honor to serve with him on this dais and what he has done. I understand he may have an emergency that he is running out to right now at the moment, but you have Commissioner Kelly has been one of the a vanguard of holding this commission, this city accountable to the people. He has set back and made sure that events were moved. The community was always engaged, was extremely astute when it comes to the question, as you can see tonight, in every single meeting, coming with it and ensuring. And that guidance and leadership and astuteness has guided me in my role being here on this commission. So much respect to Commissioner Kelly on his time here, and also Commissioner Bass. We had the pleasure of serving these past 2 years here on this dais. Today will be her meeting, but I doubt it will be her last meeting on the dais. But Commissioner Bass has led in really making sure that we have respect and appreciation for our employees, making sure we step our game up in terms of the beauty of our city and many other things. And I want to thank Commissioner Bass for being a part of this movement for change that we have been moving forward here in the city of Opa-locka. Thank you, Commissioner Bass, for your service here today. Just briefly, I know that we do have an event that we're moving forward with, but Mr. Manager, I do want to make sure that we continue to look into our bus benches and getting them taken care of. And I want to advise the community to stay vigilant in regards to COVID. We have a rapid testing site right here at Shabani Village where you can get your tests done within the same day. Sometimes no more than 2 days are the turnaround results coming in. So please take full advantage. Make sure that we are protected and stronger as a community during this time of crisis. We are still in crisis mode with relates to COVID, and we need to make sure we protect ourselves and protect each other. With that, is there any other
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
From the commission? Well, hold on, Mr. Manager. Anyone from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say thank you to my colleague, Commissioner Bass, as well as Commissioner Kelly. Thank you for your service. I had the chance to not only campaign for office and to share my experiences with Commissioner Bass, but also to become, a young elected official and lead our community together. So, I will forever remember these experiences. Thank you for serving. Thank you for accepting the challenge and stepping up to the plate. Serving in the city isn't always the easiest task, but thank you, Commissioner. As far as Commissioner Kelly, I know he's not here, but, coming in as an incoming, elected official and being one of the youngest here in the city, I must say, sitting next to Commissioner Kelly and ultimately taking the title of Vice Mayor, one of the things that I enjoyed was, having the opportunity to sit next to him, having that wisdom, having the knowledge of someone, just who has been in this community and been on the front lines for years is just, second to none. And I will forever be thankful for that experience, as well as the leadership that Commissioner Kelly has provided. So thank you, Commissioner, and enjoy your short retirement. And I hope you stay close by the phone, because I'm sure we'll be reaching out. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Commissioner Bass?
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. To all of you who have supported me in the past 2 years, I say thank you. I say thank you to my colleagues, my former colleagues, each and every one of you for tolerating me and my quietness. I am who I am. Being here these 2 years just empowered me to be even a better person. And I am going to be around. You're going to see me. I'm not going to say much. I intentionally kept quiet tonight, even more quiet, because you know, it's almost a bittersweet night, but it's a good night. It's an experience that I had that I never thought that I would have, but I did. And I say thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on, let's get Mr. Manager and then City Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, just one correction as far as the COVID testing site. They're actually doing rapid testing. Results come back in 30 minutes, and they're doing antibody testing now.
Awesome. 30-minute testing.
Yes.
Right here in
rapidly.
Opa-locka, and it's ages 5 and older. So this
Yes,
is
sir.
one of the few sites in Miami-Dade County that provides rapid testing with ages 5 and older. So just please take full advantage of it here in the city of Opa-locka. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the legal department, we certainly like to thank Commissioner Bass for being just such a wonderful person to work with. You couldn't ask for a nicer, kinder person. And we've enjoyed working with you, Commissioner Bass. And of course, Commissioner Kelly, as everyone said, the veteran commissioner here, his institutional knowledge will certainly be missed. So we have enjoyed it, and we hope our paths will cross many, many times again in the future.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, do we have any official board appointments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. That concludes the business of the city. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for participating, and we look forward to seeing you at our swearing-in ceremony. Have a good evening, everyone.